So we're 9 days into a new year. And I'm curious, how are those resolutions coming along if you haven't dropped them already? You may be feeling already like you're failed. And if that's you, this episode's for you. Because I want to offer what might be a radical thought behind, this new year concept that you don't need a new you this year. Like, in fact, the ideal that you have to supposedly, quote unquote, reinvent yourself because some clock turned January 1st. I don't know. This concept feels like you're setting yourself up already to feel like a failure before the year's even begun. And so in today's episode, I want to challenge this whole new year, new me concept, this narrative that everyone's like, new year, new me. Because let's be honest, who you are right now isn't a failure. Yeah, you may be a work in progress. I hope you're a work in progress. We're all a work in progress. But being a work in progress doesn't mean you're a failure. Growth doesn't happen just because some dramatic resolution or overnight changes occurred. Like, there is really a beautiful thing in doing things in your own time frame, making small shifts, honoring your season, and not honoring this new year, new me, January 1, so I must change everything because that's what everyone else is doing. So let's talk about it today. Let's talk about why you're enough as you are and embrace the journey without trying to pressure ourselves into changing everything all at once. Welcome to the Hello Well with Danielle podcast, your weekly mental vacation from the daily grind for busy women who just need a moment to pause, breathe, and woosah. I'm your host, Danielle Washington, and I really hate this concept of new year, new me. I won't lie, I've been sucked into it like it's been the best marketing plan. It's like, dare I say it, it's another, what we call Hallmark holidays. It's not a Hallmark holiday, but it's this feeling of we're sold new year, new me by everyone in wellness, everyone in fitness, everyone in all these industries and social media influencers. Like, I'm changing all these things about ourselves. There's this societal pressure to recreate yourself and transform overnight when the clock turns January 1. And I just want us to acknowledge that many people use this time to reflect. The end of the year happens and you're thinking about all these things. And so, yeah, you may get this motivation because you've done the reflection of, oh, I'm more aware that I don't like the way my body looks, or I don't like the way I talk to myself. And that's normal to do that reflection. What's not normal is trying to assume because the clock flipped to January 1, it's time for you to change everything about you in this moment right away. It's like basically trying to have this square peg and you're trying to put it in this round box, and it's not fitting because it's not your time to make these drastic changes. And when you do try to make drastic changes all at once, the nervous system, the mind, and just your normal habits is like, I don't know who you're, this is like danger, danger, danger. This is too much. And so that's the huge reason why many of these resolutions fail. That's why people often, ditch them by this date, if not later on. So, it's not about being perfect. It's about taking a step back and asking yourself, what fits for me right now? And finding those small shifts in your own time frame. Like for me, it happened to coincide with this time of year, but it's not that I did it because it's January 1st. On Christmas, my cousin gave me some sea moss. Like, she gave me sea moss gel, and I was like, okay, I'm going to start doing this. And I've been doing this. And it wasn't because new year, new me. It just happened to coincide. And this small shift, I'm liking. I like taking sea moss every morning. It doesn't taste as bad as I thought it would be. But the other thing to also remember is like this period, January, if you look at it astrologically and seasonally, it's about resting. It's about going within. And 9 out of 10, you're not resting, going within when you're going hard to change everything about you. You're trying to make all these shifts. Like growth is like a plant. It's not about ripping out your roots and starting all over, but it's about watering what's already there so it can flourish. And that takes the time for reflection, which you probably did to get to some of these motivations to change everything. But it's also sitting and resting with, this is where I am now. And honoring, this is where I am now. New year, same you. This is where I am now. Doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's good. It's just, this is where I am now. Accepting where you are. You know, it doesn't mean accepting where you are doesn't mean like, oh, I'm just going to stay stuck and life isn't going to change and you're giving up on your growth. It just means that making peace with the now is your foundation. I don't like my body right now. My body is changed dramatically since being in this perimenopausal stage. But I can't change anything. I can't fix the weight. I can't fix my body if that's what I feel like I need to do without accepting, acknowledging this is where I am now. Not where I used to be, not where maybe I want to be. This is where I am now. When you're able to begin that acceptance, then you can start for that's the foundation of kind of making the shifts in your own time frame. So you might not be aware of where you want to be yet. And doesn't mean that you aren't worthy where you are now. The same you is amazing just because it's you. Messy, imperfect, and capable of change in your own pace. Speaking of changes, I'm excited to announce a new segment that I'm adding to the podcast called What's Holding You Back? So each week I'm going to be discussing something that might be having you feeling like you're feeling stuck or keeping you from the life that you truly desire. Oftentimes we have these big things that we think that we need to change, but it's the small, subtle little things that are often overlooked, like our patterns, our habits, and that's really holding us back from the life we desire. And it's holding the biggest power on why we are not making those big changes that we want in our life. So this segment is all about shining a light on those small little blocks and giving you the tools to start shifting them. And what I've seen that's worked for my clients. So today we're talking about how stress and normalizing stress is probably a main factor in what's holding you back from the life you desire. And when we think about stress, you're like, oh, it's just normal. But stress has a way of sneaking into our lives so that it quietly does feel like normal, like it's just part of the family. Many of us have been normalizing stress without even realizing it. Like it's how we get through the day. It's just like, it is what it is mentality. Like, stress is just, it is what it is. But what if that very thing is what's really holding you back? Like keeping you feeling stuck, feeling overwhelmed, and feeling too drained to really focus on what really matters. So I was working with one of my clients. I'm not going to use her real name, so we'll call her, Kim. So it's Kim. Kim always felt busy. Like she was balancing work deadlines, her family responsibility, and everything on her plate. And she was literally being everything to everyone because that's what she thought. When we talked, she admitted that she saw her mom do this. She saw her grandmother do it. All her friends were doing it around her. This is just the life that she's like, this is just the way it is. Like stress is a part of our daily life. Kim came to me as a yoga therapy client because she was having neck pain and she was having this constant tension in her shoulders. She wanted relief, but through yoga therapy sessions, like we were doing a lot of movement practices, we were doing some breath work, some meditations and mindful exercises, she started to uncover something deeper. Through our work together, she started to recognize that her energy was tied up to living on autopilot, which I think many of you can probably relate to. It was this constant sense of urgency that kept her feeling like the stress was normal for her. And when she realized she wasn't just being busy, but she was being busy. Like, so over time, working together a couple sessions, she was able to develop this awareness that her patterns, and she started making small, powerful shifts. Like I started seeing her make intentional pauses in her day, setting boundaries around her time, and she started feeling lighter, not just physically, but also emotionally. Like she started to notice the neck pain was easing away, the tension in her shoulders started easing away, just by being aware how she was normalizing stress and how it was affecting her on a physical level. So if like this sounds familiar to you, you too might be normalizing stress without even realizing it. Like take a moment right now and just ask yourself, what will life feel like without the constant weight? Like what could you do? What could you create if you weren't on autopilot? If you're curious how yoga therapy can help you in your situation, because not everyone's the same, I invite you to schedule a free 15-minute consult with me, and maybe we can work on it together. Because in reality, stress doesn't have to be the one to define you, but it doesn't also have to be the thing that's holding you back either. Nor does feeling like you need to reinvent yourself because the clock turned January 1. Like, you don't need to change everything to be aligned, but that awareness can help. And I want to end this week's podcast episode sending massive love to everyone in the Los Angeles area. I'm here in the Bay Area, and, my heart goes out to all my fellow Californians who have someone who has to evacuate or lost their home, or they're going through it themselves. Just sending energy and love to all of you. Until next week. Ciao. Thanks for joining us this week on the Hello Well with Danielle show. Make sure to visit our website, hellowellwithdanielle.com, where you can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music and never miss an episode. Also, you can follow us on social media at Hello Well with Danielle on Facebook and Instagram, and Hello Well Danny on Twitter. And if you hella love the show and got some good nuggets out of it, know that I'm not too proud to ask for you to please leave a rating or review on iTunes so that we can continue to expand our reach and help other women of color. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you next week. Ciao.